what our future might hold. And I tell you, these are the kind of conversations I really enjoy. Our next guest speaker, I'm going to ask you to be a little bit brief. We're trying to keep things on the clock here, so doesn't really need a lot of introduction. Jean-Serge Brisson is a published author. He's written a book called Tax Party of One, All Government, Tea Party, Tax Party, I'm kidding. Tea Party of One, All Governments Invited. And if you haven't read it, take the time to do it. I went through it in about a day and a half. It's not that big a book, I'm just slow. But anyway, it's an amazing read, and he tells a great story, and there's a lot of funny anecdotes in it. So I believe he's got some copies up here on the table for sale. And with no further ado, please welcome Jean-Serge Brisson. No enough sound here. Always got to get something to drink. How come it works with me?
Thank you. Okay. I hope I can let Mr. Barb have his cracks at me. Okay, well, thank you for John Robson for his presentation on Magna Carta, and for Charles, I forgot his second name now. But I really enjoyed your presentations. They show exactly what happens when we have proper constitution, proper institutions that are not being adhered to properly by our politicians. And the story I'm going to tell you is what happens when those politicians don't do their job right, how it affects the people they legislate for, but then what happens to the legislator who passed those bad laws. You all know about the sign bylaw, but I'm going to tell you what you don't know about it. June 2008, Township of Russell passed a bylaw saying that every new commercial sign, whether existing business or not, had to be in both English and French. It was passed at the town hall, or the civic center, and after they had passed it, there was a big foofer outside. The township left, went to the town hall, where there was nobody there except one other person, me. I followed them, because once the evening was over, they asked, there's always a question period, and I said, I got questions about the law you passed. And they were all angry. They said, well, you should have asked your questions back at the hall. I said, no, now that you passed the law, I want to know how it works. They weren't ready for those questions. They passed me on to the planner. So all the questions I asked about the law that night, they had to refer to the planner, who was pulling it out of her butt. Because it's not, the questions I asked, the answers she gave me, are not written in the law. The only thing that's written in the law is every new commercial sign must be in English and French. I asked them, what about if you open a business at a home, a residence? Oh, that doesn't apply. It's not written in the law. So there's a series of questions like that, which from there, I put up my own sign at my shop. I changed it, went from a one name only to now the name plus the services I provided in French only. And it went up July 1st, 2008, Canada Day. And when Ken Hill found out, who was the mayor at the time, he sent bylaw the next day, gave me a fine for $130. Went to court. And as soon as the JP saw the charge, he said, I refuse to discuss language. Perfect. Because my strategy was to address the wording of the bylaw itself as it was written prior to the language aspect of it. And my approach was, the bylaw was for structural, whether the structure was safe for the public or not. Like if you're going to build a 60-foot sign 30 feet from the road, well, I think the municipality has a word to say on the safety of the public. I agree with that. That's what laws are meant to do, protect the public from actions of others. But here, they tried to sneak in an argument on language, but the JP was refusing to listen to it. And in the end, JP agreed with me. I did not change the structure, I only changed the message. And the message did not change the aspect of the structure. Very technical in approach. And I beat the municipality. It was a $130 fine. They had a lawyer that day, that they must pay at least $1,000, and I beat him. The whole story is going to be in the second book, but it doesn't matter. They appealed. Now, what does an appeal cost? For $130 they appealed. It had to cost around $10,000.
Taxpayers.
At that appeal, the judge, provincial judge, as soon as he opened the transcript, goes, "This is political." He looked up at us and said, "This is political." And judges don't like being put in a political situation, especially by surprise. He worked every way he could to give something to the municipality and something to me. Again, I'm not going to go through a lot of the details, but he found that I had changed my sign in the structure of it by removing chains. And he gave me a court order to go and get the permit. Now, I had applied the permit, I had filled it out, and I had given everything to the municipality. They just hadn't taken my $25. This judge says, "Go and get the permit. Here's a court order. I'm ordering you to get the permit." And the lawyer from the municipality, who's happy that he's got some kind of a victory, says, "Well, they won't take his money." And the judge looked up at the lawyer, and the lawyer went, "Oh, we'll make arrangements. We'll make arrangements." He wants this victory. So the next day, I walk into the town hall with Mike Kennedy, Malcolm McHugh, David Lindsay, 3 witnesses. And I go up to the head bylaw, and I said, "Here's my court order. I'm here for my permit." She said, "I'm not giving it to you." I said, "Listen," and she's my cousin on top of that. It's a small town. I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm not going to go to jail because you don't want to give me my permit." She said, "Tell you what," she says, "I'll give you a letter stating I'm refusing to take your money." Perfect. Because understand something is that when you go to pay a bill and you owe them money and they refuse to accept your money, under the bills of exchange, the bill's paid. So now they owe me a permit. Anyway, I walked away, and they sent me the letter before the end of that day. But when I was in court for the appeal, Howard Galganoff was there. And Howard liked the way that I defended myself, and he said, "You want to join my approach?" And I said, "Yes, because here's a man who's going to get a lawyer, get the money, raise it a constitutional argument, and we're going to go by Section 2B, and how can we lose?" Well, we lost. We lost twice. But at the Court of Appeal of Ontario, the way we lost, and you've heard John mention this, the last paragraph before the conclusion of the Court of Appeal reads like this: "For these reasons, although the bylaw is a breach of Brisson's rights under Section 2B, freedom of expression, of the Charter, it is a breach that is demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society under Section 1 of the Charter." We had a win, the courts made us losers, and then they assessed cost. $100,000 to Howard, $80,000 to me. Oh, the municipality tried to collect, and Howard and I both told them to take a long walk off a short beer until they had flips. So, I'm back to my original case. 2014, the municipality's been coming around my shop for the last 2 years, telling me that I'm running a wreck yard. And I said, "No, I'm zone highway commercial, I can repair cars. And I don't have cars piled up like a wreck yard. I have lots of cars, and then I have a car dealer that rents space from me, so we're in the business of repairing cars. So after 2 years, they came over August of last year and charged me for having a dirty yard. And while he's talking, I said, well, what about that? Now pointing to my French-only sign. He says, what about it? Well, I said, you should charge me for that. So he comes back and he gives me a fine for not having a permit.
Then they refuse to give it.
Not having the permit. The permit I went to get and they refused to give me, well, they now charge me for not having it. I said, you have got to be kidding. So I start telling the bylaw officer. He says, well, I don't have the file here. I said, I know. I said, you know what? Leave it like that. We'll sell it in court. So I was supposed to be in court in September. They came back. They said, we're going to remand it. We were in court in November. And at the court in November, they remanded it again to January. Now, we had a municipal election where our mayor died, so that caused the mayor election to be carried off. So I wasn't able to give the letter to the municipality that I wanted to give them as soon as the new council was going to be elected. But I gave them the letter at the beginning of January, asking for all the disclosure and the particulars of the permit, signed by law, all new signs that have been opened, of businesses that have been opened in Embrun or Russell, whether changes of new signs, but I wanted all the applications for the new signs open in Russell. I haven't gotten it. But they brought me all the disclosure on the other charge. And they said, we're going to remand it again. I said, why? I said, well, we're looking for a legal opinion on the permit. Now understand something. A municipality is created for the purpose of issuing permits and licenses for the good of the society, or the people they work in. But here, they have an obligation to issue a permit, they refuse to issue the permit, then they charge you for not having the permit, but then they have to get a legal opinion of why they are in this mess. This legal opinion has been dragging out for 3 months. How much is it going to cost? More than $25, yeah. And I already told him, I said, by the way, you refuse to take my money. He said, I don't want to talk about that.
You will lose again at the Court of Appeal, and they will assign costs to you.
It gets better.
Okay.
At the same time, I said, so the other charge, I said, what are you going to use as an argument? You have a witness to say that I have a dirty yard? Oh, he says, no. He says, we're using Section 436 of the Municipal Act. Gives us powers of entry. I said, are you telling me that if a police officer thinks I have pot on my lot, the police officer has to get a warrant to come and see if I have pot on my lot? But you don't need a warrant. You can come on my lot and see if I have cars in a state of disrepair. He said, well, he says, it's the act. It's the act. So I wrote an email quickly to Tom and Tom Black, and he sent it on to Liz Marshall. But in the document that the municipalities gave me as a disclosure, everything's in it. I hadn't started going through it, but Liz Marshall sent me back an email. She said, look up Section 438. It's 2 sections after 436, which the municipality is using to inspect my lot. Inspection pursuant to order 438. 1. A municipality has the power to pass bylaws, providing that the municipality may, in the circumstances set out in the bylaws, undertake inspections pursuant to orders under this section. Order. A provincial judge or justice of the peace may issue an order authorizing the municipality to enter on land for the purpose of carrying out an inspection for a purpose describing the subsection 436. So they're saying you have the power to come on my lot under section 436 without a court order? I think not. Your own act says 438 says you must get a court order. They don't know it yet. They're going to find out. We're back in court on May 14th to be spoken to. We're not even going to go for a trial, it's to be spoken to. Now, with all that, I expect that once I point out that they don't have a court order under Section 438, that they'll drop the matter for the dirty yard for now. But the thing is what's going to happen in the meantime. In April, I am applying for another sign. This one, you see, I have a business, I repair cars and rides, but I started up another business. I'm selling a book. And I'm putting up a sign for it in English only. It'll be this on a sign, probably 4x8 or as big as I can make it. It'll be a permanent sign, so it's not a temporary sign because temporary signs are not included in the bylaw, but it'll be a permanent sign. And it has to be, I believe, in English only because this can only be consumed if you understand English. It is not a product that can be consumed in French. Legally, if I advertise that this book is for sale in French, and it's not created in French, I haven't written it in French, I wrote it in English. Only someone who understands English can consume this. If a francophone only looks at this and it says, avant ici, I'm in trouble. So, I'm just going on a whim here, but does that mean truth in advertising or fraud in advertising if I advertise in French? So who is responsible?